Well, hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the Happiness Club. It's an intellectual forum. It is every Thursday at 4 p.m. where I host a new author with a new book, a new opinion, new insight, and a new topic. Today's topic is about inner journey and self-discovery. I have the pleasure to have with me Humaira Nasim. Humaira, she's a relationship and self-discovery coach, and she is an international author of her lovely book, and it is really a profound book. It has a lot to do with some maybe common insight with my book, Dare to be Happy, and her book, here it is, Rediscover. So I'm so happy to connect with Humaira today. And Humaira, please introduce yourself.
Hi, Hoda. Thank you for the great introduction. I'm a relationship and self-discovery coach, and I recently published my book, Rediscover, which is all about the self-discovery journey that I myself had taken some years back. And then I realized that I should share that journey so as to guide others who are interested in taking that journey, that is the journey within. So this book is all about finding a direction and purpose in life, and to feel that love and compassion and the peace that's sometimes missing in our life. So I would highly recommend all of you to read the book, and would love to hear your reviews about that.
Great. Just I would like to say hi to all the lovely audience that are with us today. I'm so happy that you joined. We are talking about an inner journey, which we all needed these days in the COVID-19 or the pandemic era. We will all started already to go in inner journey, and many of us have made self-discovery. They discover things they love, things they have been postponing long time ago, and they start doing it. Humaira will help us. She's really the right person for this inner journey. So I hope we'll have a fruitful discussion with her today. Humaira, you have very deep and profound definitions of many aspects of life. For example, Humaira defined life as a pendulum going forth and back. And she said that there are always two opposite polarities. For example, love and hate. There is conformity and there is individuality. There is forgiveness. Meanwhile, there is revenge. So I would like to know from you today, how can we settle in the middle? And I would also like to know, how can this pendulum of life go sometime is stuck in one side. It does not go the right way, and it does not stop in the middle. So please elaborate more, Humaira, in this definition of life.
Sure, Hoda. Basically, the concept of pendulum, I've used it as a metaphor to define the balance that we seek in our life. So at the two ends, as you mentioned, they're the polar opposites. For example, at one side it is forgiveness, the other side is revenge. So one side is, I, the other side is re. So the one side is patience, the other side is retaliation. This is basically absolute values, and what we have to decide is, depending upon the context, which one to choose. But what happens is that sometimes in our life, with our experiences, certain things happen, and we switch to the extreme ends by having that black and white thinking, what I call the binary kind of thought process, where either you have to select one or the other. If you forgive, then you cannot retaliate. If it's all about you, then it cannot be a collective thing. So because of the 0 and 1 thinking, we get stuck to one side of the pendulum. For if I give example from my life during my academic years and throughout my life, I was stuck at one side, which was the side of fulfillment. One high after the other, one accomplished. fulfillment, accomplishments, yeah. So I was never satisfied. One high after the other, one accomplishment after the other, and it was my energy was draining. I was burning out. I was burnt out completely because of the traditional or conventional education system that we used to have, that you have to be the topper, you have to be number one. I got tired being that, and I wanted to relax and rest. But because being stuck to one side, I had to push myself towards contentment. It's not always to be more, it's sometimes to be content with what you have. So how you have to...
Yeah. You know, there's a saying now, I heard it by Mark Manson, he say, more is less. To find more is less. And it is very true.
True that. So sometimes more is good and sometimes less is good. And if we reflect, it's better. If we reflect this with reference to nature, there is day and night, right? So during the daytime we toil, we work hard. But if the night is there to relax, take a pause, and be content with whatever you have achieved. So this is how the balance is achieved, by just swinging to both sides. Another example would be like, if you think that you should be a giver, you should help people all the time. So this is again an extreme thought. When you are at one side, then you cannot be a taker. So it is depending upon the context. You have to decide that where you have to be a giver and when you have to be a taker yourself. And this is basically what I mean by pendulum. Keep swinging, because our heart also continuously beats, right? It moves to and fro. So it's a sign of life if you are swinging to both sides.
Yes. So the best thing is to be always in the middle, right?
It's difficult to be in the middle, but it's difficult to be in the middle, but it's difficult. If you keep swinging, you will reach that balance. Because see, we are not absolute beings. We are human beings. So there is our human needs. We are confined in space and time, and our body needs are there: sleep, eating, everything. We need that. And then to the other side is the need of our soul, the spirituality that we need to foster. So it's very difficult to bring them both together, but that's what life is all about, to maintain that balance between the body and the soul.
Yeah.
And that's the struggle that we are.
Yes. Very good definition of life, like a pendulum. This is a new concept, a new definition. Humaira, you tackled in your book a very unquestionable and even unimpeachable topic. And this topic is the social pressure. And this was very, allow me to say, courageous or bold from your side. Especially we are in the Middle Eastern culture, and we are somehow some kind of more reserved. So you tackled the social pressure with very courage spirit. And you considered that the social pressure is giving to the values of anything other than your own. And you consider social pressure also, they are limiting our freedom. And among examples of social pressure is the loop of the family, is the family expectation, is materialism, is peer pressures, and social comparison. So we are really, most of us are felt victim of this social pressure. In your opinion, can you elaborate more in this topic, and how can we break free from this pressure?
Sure, Hoda. You're right. It took me a while, to share this topic, because obviously the culture we live in, it's a collectivist culture, and there are many norms and idols that we need to break, because they are coming through centuries and we don't know why we are doing certain things and why we are doing it in certain manner. We are doing it just because everybody is doing it, and we are supposed to do this way. We don't question ourselves. So curiosity is one of the main things that I always had, and I always would be inquisitive about things, that why am I supposed to do this? So this used to bug me all the time, and then I went on the quest to find the answers for it. And the social pressure was one thing that definitely, as I said, it limits our freedom. Because see, what I visualize social pressure is like an invisible fence that, you know, that limits you from there are the values that you have, and there are the values you have to give into those values, which are not part of you. They are something the society, your family, your peers, your parents, they have imposed on you. So these values, they if they are not your inner calling, you will feel caged inside. You'll feel suffocated because it's not your inner calling. So how to break free from that? And apart from this, people have expectations from you, and their projections, their biases onto you, and they expect you to behave a certain way. So how to you break free and come out from this cage is what I call social pressure. To tell you, social pressure is not always bad. Again, we have to swing. We just cannot just define everything as you know, this is good, this is bad. We have to swing. Sometimes social pressure is important. Like for example, if there's no social pressure, people won't feel accountable or there would be a lot of crimes in the society because nobody is bound. So somehow in a positive way, social pressure is needed, but obviously in a different context, social pressure limits oneself. So this is basically what social pressure is.
Yes, it's a very difficult topic, and it has its pros and cons. So we have always to be in the middle, as I always say. Yes.
Yeah. Like for example, if we are not going to have a benchmark in our life, like say we break free, this is also very dangerous, because then there should be some benchmark, there should be some divine benchmark, because if you take socially constructed ideals, they are defined by humans, and humans have their hidden agendas. They have their conscious and unconscious biases. So if you go on their framework, definitely you will become a puppet. But if you have a frame of reference which is divine and timeless, and you compare your values with that, you will be at peace that, okay, I need a reference point, but this is something that's constant and it's timeless, and it's not there is no human biases or agendas behind. Like for example, even if our parents suggest us something, there's some unconscious bias behind their whatever they are asking us to do. Or if there are higher authorities, they have their hidden agendas so that the crowd can follow them. So if you have a framework, a divine framework, then you will have a good benchmark to compare and gauge yourself.
Yes, very true. So now I want to talk about another concept in your book, which I found a bit controversial, because the topic itself, because these are topics that not to be disputed or doubtable. In my book, I tackle this topic about kindness and how beneficial it is to the person to promote his happiness. And I talked also about another aspect, which is helping others. In your book, you talk about, I like the topic very much. This is in chapter 3. You talked about something which you called it leaky boundaries. And this goes in controversial with what I think about happiness, or what I wrote about happiness. You're talking about people with leaky boundaries, They are people who help others, who maybe, and they give beyond their capacity, and they compromise over their self-care. Do these people exist nowadays? And instead of having leaky boundaries, can they have healthy boundaries? How can we do this? So instead that we have expectations that are well managed, because this is a bit controversial. As for me, I said that kindness and helping others is a way to gain personal happiness. In the meantime, Humaira is saying that people who are really helping others at the expenses of themselves are really hurting themselves and are hurting the people around them, whether they are their families, and they are hurting the person whom they are helping. So this is really controversial. We need more explanation from your side. And at the end, I would like you to add if you have been in that situation, you personally, before that. So I leave you the mic to talk about leaky boundaries. And this is chapter 3 in her book, Rediscover.
Yeah, I do agree. I've read your book, and it's an excellent book. And as I said, that whatever we are, whatever we talk, even if it's my book, it is reference to context, and it's not. It's time bound. It is. It has a certain context behind. And similar to your book, the aspect of kindness that you have discussed is also another paradigm that needs to be incorporated in people who are reluctant to help. So this is a beautiful mix of multiple perspectives that, if mixed together, we come up with a collective wisdom.
Yes.
In my book about the leaky boundaries, I've discussed about the people who have been conditioned throughout their life that you should help, and you will be a bad person if you refuse to help someone. So this kind of self-talk that I must help, and if I'm not going to help, things will go bad. This kind of pressure, this kind of inner talk, this talk that these kind of people have in their life, make them an overgiver. And what I mean by overgiver is that they burden themselves and compromise their own personal needs. They do not prioritize themselves. They are unable to say no when it is needed because they are too kind for saying no. So this is they lack the basic self-care, and that is what I call leaky boundaries are. And interestingly, people having leaky boundaries, when they compromise a lot of their self, they drain their energy, they go to the other side of the pendulum, again, to their opposite polarity, where they become rigid and very hard, and they are uncompromising, and they won't listen to others because they are in a burnt out situation. They don't have any more energy left to serve people, and they will be very crude and unkind and rude to people, because they have had so much drama in their life. So you have to keep swinging between these kindness and your keeping yourself as a priority. And the basic thought that I would leave the audience with, how to build that healthy boundary, is that you are not self-sufficient. You are a human being with limited time, effort, energy. You are not the all giver. He's just the one. You are not as-samad. You are not self-sufficient. So don't think that if you are not going to help, the other person won't be helped. You are not self-sufficient to do that. You need sleep. You need energy. You need food. You need your personal time to care for your own self, for your own family. So if you cannot make everyone happy, so if you are trying to make everyone happy, this is the problem. So you need to understand that you are not a superhero. You are a human being. You have your own flaws, and you need your own downtime to recharge yourself. So
yes,
yeah, this is the concept of leaky boundaries that I've discussed in that chapter.
Yeah, this is true. And I'm also wondering, because sometimes if I help somebody one time, that is good, because we are wired to help each other. If I help the same person another time, if I help him a third time, would you think that this would do good for him, or he will rely on me every time he needs help? He will never be independent. He will never know how to deal with life, to deal with issues, to deal with problems. So I'm not actually helping him. I'm harming him. What do you think?
That's an excellent point. That's an excellent point that you have brought up, because if you are going to help, the person will expect that every time you are going to help him, and he won't be ever able to be independent and stand on his own. So that's an excellent point. And people then treat you as a doormat, because this certain person cannot say no, so we can take any request to him and it will be fulfilled. So people abuse you in a certain way if you are like that. And unfortunately, they can be your loved ones. Your loved ones are the first ones to exploit you. So this journey is your own. You have to take it for yourself. Nobody is going to help you and say, oh, you are like this, you have to change. It's your personal choice, and it's your personal journey.
Can we say a quick description of the concept of pendulum? I have with me Adil. She's asking, she said, I missed the first part of the definition of pendulum. Can you explain it quickly? And we go on to the second question, please.
So pendulum, I've used it as a metaphor, because pendulum depicts equilibrium in life, or balance in life. As it to and fro, back and forth it goes, just like our heart. It beats, right? So it is a sign of life, the balance that we seek. So at one side, there is one polarity of, let's say we were discussing about being kind, as discussed in your book, and that definitely gives the personal happiness. If you are depressed, if you're sad, it elevates your mood. If you help someone, especially as a coach, when I help people, it gives me an instant high when I see the people, I am of some value to someone. So this is one side of the pendulum. But to the other side, it's being rude and unkind, and this is how we move to the two polarities, because we are so much stuck at one side. We need that push to go to the other side so that we can attain that balance. So if we give too much, we become rigid and hard later in life.
Yes, and people take you for granted, as Adil is saying. I would like to say hi to Mawadda, hi to Pega, so happy you joined in. Hi to Noah Osman, so happy you are joining in. Our topic today is inner journey and self-discovery. And we go on with our questions to Humaira Nasim and her book, The Rediscover. Today, everybody is talking about fear. We are actually experiencing fear even without us noticing that. We have fear of the unknown. We have fear of failure. And that's a very important point, the fear of failure and fear of abandonment. Maybe you described 3 types or maybe more types of fear. So I would like you to elaborate more about the different types of fear, and maybe at the end you give us a definition of the current situation of fear and our fear, our anxiety, and maybe depression. People can go to depression and fear, especially in uncertainty and fear of the unknown. Can you elaborate more on this topic, Humaira, please?
Yeah, sure. It will be my pleasure to do so. Fear is a kind of emotion, and there are 2 deadly emotions from which all other emotions arise. One is fear and the other is sadness. And if you are able to overcome or able to channelize these 2 emotions, you will be the most powerful person on earth. So basically, before I go deeper into fear, I want to discuss what emotion is. Emotion is a signal, it's a message, and if you're able to decipher the message, it's something, it tells you something about yourself or the surrounding, that something is out of place, something is going wrong. So if you get carried away with that emotion, you'll get drowned. But if you receive the signal well, that emotion will serve its purpose. So emotions are not positive or negative. It's depending upon how you take them, they become positive or negative. So similarly, fear itself is not a negative emotion. It's an emotion. It's giving you a signal. For example, for a student who has to appear for an assessment or exams, fear is positive, because if he does not have the fear, he won't prepare for the exam. So there should be an optimum level of fear that a person should have. Even in social situations, if you don't have the fear of accountability, you can get away with doing crimes. So fear here is positive. Fear becomes negative in situations that you just mentioned. It is fear of failure, or fear of abandonment or rejection. These are the fears that, you know, if you give in to those fears, you'll go towards the negative side, and it will definitely drown you. For the fear of failure, I would give an example of a child. A child doesn't have this concept of fear, and that's why he's curious, inquisitive. He can go near the fire without any fear. These are the things that he doesn't have it. He gets this conditioning from the environment, and that's how he learns. He takes the first step. We are not risk takers because we are always afraid, oh, what will happen? Fear exercises when we think that certain situation or certain thing is beyond our control. So if it's not in our control, we are fearful about it. We have the fear of future. For example, in this situation, like the pandemic has hit us, there is so much uncertainty, the fear of unknown. If you're able to embrace the fear of unknown, you will be a free person. So this is how you can channelize the fear and exploit it and use it to your advantage. It will help. Otherwise, it will make you go into the negative space.
Yes, fear is if we consider it, definitely it's a negative emotion, especially if you go to the extreme side of fear. If you have the average, the normal fear, as I always say, being in the middle is the best solution, is the best thing to do in life. And all religions also talked about being in the middle is the best, is the balance, actually. It is the balance of life. Another question is that, Humaira, I feel that we are always hard on ourselves, and most of us are kind of perfectionists. We let ourselves sometimes become the victim of the situation. So for me, for example, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to fail, because how else would I learn? So I'm always feeling that I am in a learning process in life, and I always feel that I am a work in progress. So making mistake is okay. Through mistakes I learn. Through mistakes I become stronger. Not everybody, especially in our culture, do accept failure. However, if they go deep inside, they know that even the most successful persons, how many times they fail before their success, they will be amazed. Some millionaire, they said, we failed like 100 times, then we became who we are today. If you ask anybody of the well-known athletes, the superstars, the businessmen, they said, we failed. Yes, we failed. And they agreed that they failed. They are not ashamed that they failed. Perhaps they are proud that they failed, because they are now stronger than ever, and they reach a very, how do you say it? A very worthy position. They are worth it, because they did all the homework required from them, and now they are successful. So I want to ask you now, how can one be proactive, and how do some people, they feel they're always victim of their life circumstances. They reject to take any responsibility of their action, and they are not proactive at all. They just let themselves like a pendulum in life. What do you say? Can you first describe to us who are the people that are victim? They put themselves in the victim shoes, and how can we get out of that shoes?
Yeah, sure. The victim mindset is quite prevalent, especially in our culture, and it's because of our conditioning. Multiple times a same pattern repeats, and there is no choice for you. You tend to learn helplessness. that okay, nothing is gonna go right, nothing will happen, the country is not gonna flourish, there's so much bad going on, this thing, that thing, and you'll blame everything on the external situation, because that's how you have been conditioned, and you have learned that learned helplessness, that we usually call it as. Now, it is your mindset at that moment. Yeah, I agree. There are times when you are totally stuck in a cage. You have no choices, or yeah, you have a choice of how to keep your mindset positive. But literally, you are stuck in the cage. You don't have opportunities to run away. At that time, what is your mindset is what counts. If you go towards helplessness and hopelessness, that there is no hope left, you will become the victim of the situation. And you will just, you would be in that cage forever. And there will be a time when you will be more resourceful. There will be opportunities in your life, but you cannot see through that filter, because you have conditioned so much into that victim mindset that you cannot see the wider horizon that's waiting for you. So resilience is the opposite of a victim mindset. Where there is a negative situation, there is a challenge, not a problem in your life. And through that negative situation, there is a lesson, there is a message. You take that lesson, you learn it, and you move forward. And that's how you will get unstuck from that victimization that you have been exposed to. So resilience is the key.
Yes, it is true that people who feel they are victim are the people who who does not move forward. I believe these are the people who really stand still in life.
It's the metaphor about the pink baby elephant who is trained for the circus, and there's this shackle on his feet, and it's tied to the pole, and at that time he doesn't have that strength to free himself. And later, when he's a huge giant elephant, he still believes that he's in that cage. He's still shackled. He has those shackles because he has learned helplessness. There's no, he cannot see the wider picture. He cannot see from the other lens that now he's strong enough to break that shackle. And that realization itself, that you are free, is a discovery itself.
Yes, it's true. I want to ask you now about change. As a coach, how do we embrace change in our lives? And what you called the art of letting go. When we shall let go, and when it is required to embrace change in our life, and how useful it is to our lives, to our growth and our progress, our personal development.
That's a very interesting question, and related to these uncertain times, it's very relevant. Change is the new constant, because if you're not adaptable enough to accept the change, I usually use a lot of metaphors for the explanation. It's like a frog sitting in a pot of water at room temperature, and he is in his comfort zone. Slowly and gradually the temperature of the water rises, but he is not unable to let go that comfort, the familiar environment he's used to. So he relaxes, swims in the water. Okay, it's still bearable, and he's not futuristic enough to see that what can go wrong, because he is not embracing change. He's just in his comfort zone. And the moment the water starts boiling, he does not have the energy to, step out of it, and he dies. And similarly, it happens with organizations as well. The organizations during this time of pandemic who are futuristic enough and they are adaptable to the digital transformation that has happened, they're going to go a longer way because they are quick to change. They're quick to embrace change. And those who are still thinking that the world will come back, no, the world is changing constantly. It's the nature tells us to see there are 4 seasons. They change. Imagine if there was all the 12 months, there would be spring season. who would value the blooming of a flower? We'll say, oh, it happens all the 12 months, so I don't care. But it's the absence that makes the heart grow fonder. So this is how change, we need to embrace change, and it will happen. It is the impermanence of the soul that stops you from letting go, because our soul is impermanent. Our soul is permanent, right? And our body is impermanent. It is mortal. It has to go. It's temporary. Yeah, it has to go. So if this is the fight between the body and the soul it believes in permanence. The body has to let go, and letting go is not easy. You know, letting go your deceased, your loved ones, it's not easy. Letting go your family, your siblings, when you start your own family, it's not easy. Letting go your younger self, the youthful self, it's not easy. But you have to embrace that, you know, you have to go up the hill, you will come down the hill, and that's what the cycle of nature is. So letting go is difficult, but that's what we need to do.
Yes, it is true that change is the only constant in life. And even talking about companies, companies that are in stagnation mode, they are about to die for sure. They should, we should always change to the better, to embrace change. Even nowadays, at the pandemic period, those companies who really shifted to digital transformation will be the winner after this era. So change is the only constant really in life. So I would like to know from you, what are your general advice to reach a balanced, fulfilled, and a happy life? And this is equivalent to the question I always ask my guests: is what is your formula to happiness, and what is your equation to happiness? So I would like to know your opinion in that.
When I was reading your book, I got to the concept of eternal happiness, and that's what happiness is all about. Temporary happiness, yeah, eating your favorite dessert, or buying a car, or decorating your house, meeting your friends. These are short-lived happiness. They do bring pleasure to us, but eternal happiness is something that is treasured, that is valued, and this can only happen when you are at peace. And you cannot be at peace unless your soul and body, they are in alignment. Your body needs, if your body needs are not fulfilled, it will suffer. You cannot go in you cannot abandon the world and go to one corner and satisfy your spirit. You need a family, you need food, you need relationships, and that's the need of your body. If you are not going to cater for that, your body will suffer. And on the other side, if you're too much into the world, too much into materialism, too much into the fulfilling the bodily needs by, you know, consuming a lot of food, a lot of fun, a lot of entertainment, your soul is going to suffer, because there would be a lack of spiritual connection there. So for me, the eternal happiness, the fulfillment is when you are at peace with your body and soul, and there's no conflict. And this is going to happen when you know what values you cherish and you need to foster within.
Yes, it is true, and the whole topic of today was just about that. It's about the harmony, to find harmony, harmony within yourself. It's an inward journey to really find and discover yourself, to discover your own values, to discover your needs, your wants, your desires, your goals, and to discover your balance, your true happiness in life, and your self-fulfillment. There's so many topics around the inner journey, and maybe we can take another session with you to discuss topics like humility, like the power of praise, like how to amplify your influence, and maybe like how to unleash success and the secret to abundance. All these are very important topic and are really related to self-growth and are realized by a discovery of oneself and by going to an inner journey, which we all did, I think, during these 2 months of quarantine, and maybe it will continue, maybe not, we don't know, but it's a very good opportunity to use this time to go into an inner journey and to discover yourself. Thank you very much, Humaira. There is a quote that really captured me in your book. It was very inspiring to me, and it was very sensational. So allow me to read it loud to our audience today. This quote is, it's about forgiveness, actually. So it said, don't wait for people's apology to forgive them. Making them kneel down will only boost your ego. Forgiving them is your need, not theirs. You have a long journey to travel carrying a mental baggage, and it will slow you. Carrying a mental baggage will slow you down, and you might give up. Free the space, forgive unconditionally. That was very well said. This quote is about forgiveness, so you might as well talk another time about forgiveness and how to free the space and to make the baggage behind your back more light, so you can move forward in life, and so you can unleash success and find abundance. Thank you very much. It was lovely connecting with you. And
it is one of my personal favorite quote that you have said, and it came out from a personal life situation. And when I usually write these quotes with my pen on paper, and I literally had tears on that paper when I was writing this, because forgiveness does not come easy, but it is how you can liberate yourself. Thanks for sharing that.
I find it very inspirational and sensational. Now I will try to save this video so that people can view it later. If I couldn't save it, it will be on the live for the next 24 hours. For whoever wants to see it, they can watch it again and again. Thank you. And for my lovely audience, I'll see you next Thursday at 4 p.m. in the Happiness Club, and a new topic, a new author. Thank you and bye.
Thank you, Hoda, for having me over. Bye-bye.
Bye.